2023 for you?
A little bit busy. There are some kind of things that we need to finish at work. And in a personal life, with still kind of celebrations and with a lot of friends. So it's going good. It's a good start, I would believe. So yeah, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, sort of the same. I returned back this week in the end of the week, and yeah, so far so good. It's was relaxed celebration for me. Nothing big, but yeah, could actually enjoy some good weather and the rest of it.
Where did you go, if I may ask?
Egypt, to Egypt.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was quite sunny there and also warm, and water was warm as well. So nice.
Good, nice. Indeed.
So thanks for joining today, and welcome everyone who watches us right now, or maybe after the session. As we agreed with Pavlik to do a second session on a system design with a front-end interview, so we did one before, and last time Pavlik was an interviewee and I was interviewer, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So today we decided to switch roles and also do it a little different, maybe more retrospective during the session. So it's not gonna be like a speed run or a really production run of a system design. At least that's what I imagine. But rather a discussion over what we want to achieve through the interview. How does it sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. Great.
Cool.
That's also really helpful for me. I don't have much, honestly, experience of doing system design interviews. At IG, where I work right now, we don't do this. So that would be really an interesting experience, and it's really nice to have a retrospective right in the interview, so we can like discuss what's going on and how that can be changed or improved.
Right, and also one other change that I propose, maybe instead of using Excalibur that we did last time, maybe use different tool just to experiment, let's say. And there is a tool quite known, Semiro. And yeah, I shared with you, Pavlik, the account you can use. Maybe we can collaborate on that one.
Yeah, I already added like a task kind of in this my first board. I did not dare to remove some predefined things there, but yeah, I can move the task to a different one if it's if it's needed.
My first board, this one. Yeah, nice. Perfect, I can see that. Yeah, that looks exactly how my first board with Miro. So yeah, we are aligned on that. That's good.
Yeah, the task
Any
would,
ideas? Yeah,
the task
exactly.
would be a little
What's
bit higher.
Okay. Right, that's very cool. So I see that we designing today. Well, yeah, there are plenty of resources. So if I begin somehow, so there are plenty of resources to prepare for these kind of interviews. Very nice links. Let me actually send some of the links during our talk. And this is indeed one of the traditional tasks. Like last time we designed, what was that? Google Maps? Google Maps. Google Maps. I think it's a bit outstanding, but this one, a chat, is a very classical task. So it's a good exercise indeed for interviews, because it's also coming often through interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where should we start? Again, I'm a little bit retrospecting during it.
Yeah.
So First of all, I want to share some of the great resources that I found. Great front end, and then system design. Let me send it to you, to our listeners, maybe.
When those resources will appear in the chat or in the...
Yeah, in the
Okay, I
chat.
see.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah, one of those actually has a really nice a preparation plan. Like what would you expect from an interview? My thought on that is that actually it depends a lot of interviewees. So it's whatever Pavlik as an interview expects, he can drive the agenda. Of course, he can. Of course, I will be talking, and I'm already breaking the rules here because probably Pavlik has something in mind, and I'm just talking and talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, just a little thing, just to introduce this. But you already guessed it absolutely correctly, even though it's all blurred because I don't want to show the pictures of people that I'm chatting with without their consent. So exactly as you said, that's a messenger or chat application. So on the left side, we, as always, traditionally have a list of contacts. And in the main part of the chat, we have a selected chat. So for this one, I would suggest, for the purpose of simplicity, do not support like audio calls or video calls, nothing like this. So it's will be only text messages or also audio or media messages. So in the very bottom, you can see that you can send also like a picture, or you can send an emoji, or it's like thumbs up. So those things should be supported. And also in this chat application, there are no group chats. So you cannot like create a chat with many people. It supports only one-to-one conversations, person to person.
Yeah, cool. No group chats. Yeah, I will try to collect this knowledge. No group chats, no audio, no video. So personal messages only. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's exactly a first point that the interviewee, me, should be doing. Like Public already helped with that, but indeed I should be start with preparing some requirements, and for that I should be asking Public about what do we want to design in this application. So part of this we already have here. Thanks for that. Okay. So yeah, so the requirements, as we know from the last part, there are functional requirements and no functional requirements. So I guess this is more like a functional requirements. Let's put it more in this way. And by the way, sorry, the tool for me is quite new, so might be not that fancy as Excalidraw. Okay, so it has nice alignments.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, a little unexpected behavior sometimes, but fine. And it also can be aligned on vertical. Yay, nice. Okay, so actually it's not a good practice to start with no. Let's start with yes. Personal messages. So we want to design a chat. I see we have a list of contacts. We have personal messages, like we said, personal chats, messages. I'm looking at this picture. I can imagine also we also have past chats, right? And that also is connected to the context that a user has, right? Like you can maybe find a contact in the whole organization or in a whole space. And the chats left panel will show you the latest chats that you had basically with
The
people.
latest messages.
Okay, left panel sorry, latest chats. Do we want to? Yeah, just to finish the thought, I think we should have somewhere a way to find a person for chat. So I see a search messenger. Maybe this would be serving this purpose, right? Like we start typing something there, and it will request actually the whole organization of the whole space for contact.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Latest chats, personal chats, messages, find person. Yeah, that's the main functionality in on a very high level. I see in the picture, text, audio, message. Oh, text, audio, media, messages. So media messages are still supported. And audio is in there.
You can you cannot do direct calls, but you can send the video or audio or just audio messages or image messages or emoji. Those things you can do.
Yeah.
You can send. Yeah.
Yeah, you already typed it. So thanks again. Okay. Still need to get used to that tool. Emojis, yeah, that's clear. I think no group chats. That's good. Yeah, I'm figuring out if we didn't cover something. I think it looks complete so far. I mean, in terms of functional requirements. What do you think, Pavlik?
That seems yeah, quite complete, quite close to the picture, so it's converted correctly. Yeah. Gathered. Yeah.
Nice. So then non-technical requirements. Let's create another one. A non-functional. Yeah, and for non-functional, it's a bit confusing because, yeah, of course, we can say that this will be some numbers. Well, first of all, front end is a bit different from backend systems, and the backend system is where you can evaluate these numbers, right? Like you can make a server, you can decide what type of database you need. In front end, doesn't rely on that type of numbers, I think. So but I prepared some questions to elaborate a bit non-functional requirements. So like public, what browsers, what kind of users we will be having? We gonna have a mobile application, or we have a, I don't know, only Internet Explorer application?
Well, that would be really interesting to have, yeah, such application. But I would assume that would be a regular web application, so we don't need to have like some progressive web apps or some things that can be work without the network. So we assume the network is always available, and there are no specific needs for the like mobile. So we can even focus only on the web if it's easier, or we can just assume that this application can run on the mobile with like responsive CSS tweaks and without special adjustments. Of course, this is a chat application, and it should be able, like I should able, or user should be able to see the messages real time, so without need to refresh the page to see new messages. Also, like it should work nicely if there are like many messages. So if I like for many years send some messages to the same person, and we have like a history of thousands of different messages, it still should be like I should be able to load them, to see them, and to basically keep using the chat even with such big history. Yeah, so I don't think that there are any other like technical requirements like latency or the number of how fast the message should arrive. Of course, if I like a person on another like side of the world send the message, I should not wait like minute or like even 30 seconds for this. But exactly also as you mentioned, that's more on the backend side that like very depends on them. So on the client side, that would be just like a reflection of this. So yeah, it's just should be usable, like regularly
Okay.
usable.
Yeah, thanks. That sounds valid. That sounds good. So what I have here is a normal web and mobile application, whatever that means. It's also real time, so probably, and it's already going to the technologies, is gonna be using something like WebSockets, but let's discuss it later.
Something fancy.
Load all messages I put here. I'm not sure if that's a requirement or not. It sounds it sounds like it should be there. Just not sure that I have to put that I need to put it in non-functional requirements just for myself. And I put also no PWA and no latency requirements for now. All right. Other questions I prepared a bit, so it's not a long list. Do we support internationalization?
Yes, we would like to do this. Yeah.
I18 and I don't often write this, so it's a pleasure to try. Okay, so no work offline. You said that's cool. Does it have any limitations on items? Can you imagine that it will be, through the years, it will be like 1,000 of chats, and we should all support it, right? It doesn't have limitations on the size?
No. Yeah, it can be like thousands of contacts and history. Yeah. Yeah, I also like I missed a question from you. It's about the browsers. So we don't have like a specific requirement, so it can be latest of everything. No Internet Explorer anymore, Edge latest, Safari latest, or like latest -1. So we can assume the technologies are like very fresh.
Yeah, that's cool. Helps us a lot. Okay, that's pretty much covering my questions, I think. Also, it's an interesting one. I didn't see it in preparation articles, but worth to discuss maybe. So imagine we are planning this work together, and do we want actually this component to be supported afterwards? Do we want to be maintainability in place? I can imagine that can cause choosing some technologies over other ones.
Yeah, I think we want it. I think we want like this application to be working in 5-10 years afterwards, and therefore, and we don't want to spend more time, like much time, on rewriting the application from scratch in case something is like entirely not supported anymore.
Yeah, cool. Maintainability working 10 years. Okay, it's automatically scaling it. It's cool. I actually can do that maybe. All right. That's the last one. I have actually maybe to think together because right now I think a trend, a way to design something or to start working on something is the data first thinking or data first approach, right? When you analyze some data and then build your solution on top of that. So do we think any data could help us during after basically we started, like, okay, when we release this application, what data we can expect to collect from people, and that would help us to further develop this application?
Okay, so
It's actually a question that I should answer, but let's figure it out together.
yeah, that's a very good question. And that's also like the data can be collected also on the client side and on the like server side. For example, like we can think how many contacts people have, how many history people have, but that's also all can be just like get or can be got from the backend. So, and like specifically on the client side, yeah, I can't even think about something like really special, like button clicks maybe or inputs. So I think on the client side, there are no specific data that we want to collect. If that's the data that you meant.
Yeah. Yeah. I also was confused about this actually, but I saw it sometimes, so I decided to discuss it. What I was thinking it could be like maybe it could be like errors, but that's of course obvious. You should have like a reporting of errors, right? Uh, uh, yeah, I will put it for history. Other than that, of course, we can use some legal data, what I mean by that is time to interaction, time to first byte, these kind of metrics. So that yeah, but you said there are no such requirements in this application, so that's fine. Other than that, I also don't know what to think of data in this context.
Yeah, we can like maybe in brackets mention that that would be interesting from the client side developers later on to see how many contacts people usually have and how big history that can help, like for example, to decide how many messages should be loaded, whether it's like still fast or not. And for the context, we can think about like to load all the contacts on the client side or auto suggest with the backend call. So those type of things, but yeah, they can be collected from the backend. And what you mentioned with the errors and the regular data, or how it's called, the time to interactive and such, it's good metrics. Yes, that's a good idea to collect them.
Okay, yeah, put something here then. Arrows, time to first byte, and so on. So it's gonna be, we will have it in mind. Okay, nice. And that's completes my part about requirements, I think. Okay. So our main use case is yeah, having a panel with a history of chats, to choose a chat, start a chat, and personal chat is a long use case itself, a big use case itself, like talking to someone, and that could also have audio and video. I think that covers it all, right? And no objections. Okay.
No.
Next cool point, I will send another link in the chat. I'm not sure, by the way, which one has the thing that I'm having in mind right now, but these all are cool articles. So one of these articles that I will post is having a nice list of traditional system design for front-end questions and applications. And one of those is a chat application like we're doing today.
Nice.
So it has a good plan for that already, so we can just follow it. First of all, the board it looks like not the board, but a messaging chat, and this type of application. It's a messenger and messages list, chat list. So it has important areas column there, and it says that for these kind of applications. The main focus areas are messages list and the chat list. I think that's what we already said. That's cool. Okay, so next is basically next step in an interview. When we know the requirements, we want to start drawing something in the board, and that I call this part as architecture, high-level architecture, high-level design, in which we can talk about key components that we have, the data models that we have, and maybe touching a bit of APIs that we're gonna use in application, both on a front-end side and maybe a little bit on the back-end side. Just a few words about it. How, okay, that sounds like yes. Let's
That's a definite yes.
Okay. So for key components, looking at our functional requirements, what we have, we have well, I can think of a left panel. Let's say it's a chat history panel. Oops, chat. Oops. All right, so we have these. We can also choose more shapes. Nice. The other, like we said, the other use case or the other big important area is this is gonna be the yeah, how do we call it? This is a chat itself, and this is our history chat panel. History panel. I don't know, history and search component. Yeah, I think they pretty much. I like this picture. Excuse me. So this gonna be our key components. We can dive more into details on how each one of those will work. The main, of course, is the chat one. I think this is what most people would ask on the interviews to keep try more focus on this one. But just to finish it, skip completely. Sorry. Yeah, like that. Let's align it on the top. Same here. So starting with the left one, history in search, what it should be doing? It should be we should have an input there, right? Let's try to search an input. Manual input. Okay. It sounds. This is gonna be our search input. And we have, of course, a list, right? Doesn't have a listing here. So we'll just do it like that again. History list. Okay, so two components on the left, two smaller components on the left one, history and search. So a search input in which a user types something. Then we will have some API call to backend, and it will either return us latest, found users that we trying to interact with, or by default, this whole component will show the latest contacts that we're talking to. I think we should also mention that. First, when a user just loads an application, we show the latest contacts, latest chats, and then otherwise we gonna be doing the find contact API. So this, as I can see, it already includes some API ideas. Come on. How do I? Okay, like that. Yeah, so the latest chats and final contact would be definitely our API, would be included in our API. I can imagine we can do it with a normal calls. In here, it's not gonna be a REST API or sorry, not WebSockets needed at least for that one.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. Shall we switch to chats or continue on that? We can also we can do both. Like we can on the exact on the same level of details. We can talk about chat component and then write our data model, data for the whole application that that will live on front end. Okay.
Yeah, for the history and search panel, yeah, that two components should be fine indeed. The input and the list, yeah.
Okay, so for the chat, we of course have a messages input, a message input, and this will be, of course, will have a lot of functionality in there.
And the only question is like, can you a little bit move the chat window like in mirror to the closer to the center? Because right now the pictures of us they cover the message input and the bottom. So a little bit higher, that would be awesome. Oh yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you. Yes, that's great. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So in here, we also have a list of messages, and yeah, what should we say about? So again, when we just load application, it may show us the like latest one, latest message with some with the latest contact you had, or it can be empty. But yeah, maybe empty is yeah. I don't know. I don't have a preference here. Maybe you have public.
I think it's just like a little bit easier to leave it empty and do not keep track of the latest contact you had a conversation with, and it will always be possible just to select from the like history and search the chat I want. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Message input. Yeah, this one, the chat component overall will have, like you said, it has a lot of requirements. It has a video. It has an audio. So I'm not sure if we what we can do with it right now. Like, should we? Should we say something about that? What do you think? Like on this level of details, I mean.
So like you provide this like message input, and message can be different entity. So it can be text, can be an audio. So I think on this level of detail, that's enough just to have this. But when we go a little bit deeper, then we can differentiate them.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. So next, I suggest to talk a little bit of a data model. I ate a lot of frogs yesterday, as you can hear. Sorry about that. All right. So data model then. Let's start with the history and chat again. So what do we have? We have for well, of course, we will have when we searching for someone to talk to is gonna be about contacts. So let's call it a contact. Make it a bit smaller. Okay, I need to exercise more with that tool. Come on. It doesn't want to
Yeah,
scale.
exactly. I can see it as well. A little bit annoying, huh? I
did
think
it somehow.
it probably will do this when you continue typing, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's yeah, makes sense. So contact, of course, it has a name. It has some identificator icon. Let's quickly look at that one. Maybe give some ideas. Maybe status, right? Like online, offline, usually in that matters, right? In these kind of chats. Okay, that's sort of it. Maybe like a new messages as that kind of sign. I don't know yet if it will be in this data type or not, but let's type it for now. It can be also combined with a status, I believe, but let's see it further. Um, okay, and then yeah, when I think of left of the left component history in search, I don't think we can. Yeah, we need to have something else than that. It's really really straightforward, uh, right? Or what do you think, Pavlik?
Yeah, what I want also maybe to elaborate on. So here we have contact. What do you think about like not having the entity, special entity for this, but just have a like user or a message? And then for the history list, we will get just like a list of last messages, and then we will attach user to them, and we show those list as the contacts, so as the history list.
History list. So, what do you say is like a session when you have a session with a user? Is this gonna be a chat list? Is that what I hear or not?
Yeah, so something more like that. For example, we have a chat with you, so I send you messages, like you send me. So some other people send me messages, others, and like to display the history list, we just get the list of all messages, the last messages. Let's say I have like just to display 20 last messages from different people. And then the history list will be those 20 messages plus for each message the date of the user that sent this message. So we just like, so essentially we have kind of the messages in our database plus users. And for the context list, we use the messages and users, not a special entity.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. But still, it will be one continuous chat with a single user, right? You will not be splitting it into many sessions, right? It's gonna be like a messages uh, and users, like you said, and you select a user, and it will pop up this chat panel with the latest messages from this user. It will not be like a splitted splitted conversations with this user.
No, no,
It will
no, no.
be.
It will not be.
Okay. Uh, so yeah, then a user and a message, right? That's our type of data we're talking. Then for message itself, it's gonna be type of message. It's gonna be text or audio or video. It's also included in the type. So let's put it content, maybe like that, and time, of course, time and date. And for user, yeah, it should be. Not sure how to structure those. Like when we have a user, does it have a? It should be sorted by last message. So I am thinking how to include it in the user type of data here, or it can be done separately with the messages. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. So one of the idea, for example, is to have kind of another field that signals the time when the message was read. So,
Yeah.
and then you have the new messages for you is the messages that have this empty, and the messages like some other that's have this date prefilled.
Read time. Let's be consistent. Read date. That's for messages, and still for user, I'm not sure how they will be sorted in this case. Maybe we also want to keep it in here like a last last message date, something like that. Yeah, let's put it like that. A message type, content date, and a read date. That's fine. Do we miss something else?
One question: do we want for a message like also ID and also relation to users who send the message, who receive the message, or
Oh,
that would?
of course, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. ID should be there all the time for all. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then, in my mind, we could discuss a store, but store is actually maybe it makes sense more on other stages of interview. So, store like a front end store. What exactly we gonna keep in on the front end, and how we gonna read it, and maybe how we gonna cache it. So yeah, let's leave it for later on. I suggest. Maybe for the component side or something like that. So yeah, now then we can talk about API quite just a little bit. So we don't want to design the whole REST API, but again, when application just appears, we want to see the latest latest chats we had, right? Latest, chattest, latest. Just chats. I suggest just chats, and it will show sorted. It will return sorted list of chats by last message date. This gonna be. I think this should be very. A simple one is like just can be REST API, which returns some chats, and I called it here user actually. So should I put it chat actually? That's what I wanted to see, like a chats with a user.
Yeah, let's go with this.
Get chats sorted list by of chats by last message date. Then of course to cover search functionality, to find the contact. So when we type something, we gonna send also get request. I think get request to yeah, it could be a different name, different URL here, but I'm thinking post. No, I think it should be just a different name. Find user, something like that. Find user. Oh, let's put just find. I like some short names, and that will return the contacts filtered by name or ID. I would say, if ID is readable, but yeah, not necessary. That is pretty much about the history and search, I think, right? It's like it gives us the whole list of chats, and the chat has a username, ID, icon, blah blah blah. So we show them on the panel, and when we click on them, we do already. We should be doing a request on the chat component itself.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
Nice. So for chat component, it's gonna be a bit different, I think. So we can the first I had in mind is a WebSockets interface. Yeah, why WebSockets is basically because it has a bidirectional connection. So we send something, and it also keeps this connection to push a new data to the chat when a user, for example, types something. So I think it would be logical to do it through the WebSockets. Is that you have in mind, Pavlik?
That one of the option. Can you also maybe just for the context elaborate on other options how it can be done?
Yeah, of course. So we can of course just do the normal HTTP calls for that. So when we just enter the chat, we will receive the latest messages by chat ID, and
Mhm,
then when we send something, we do a, yeah, I don't know, post a message to create a new message in the history of chat.
mhm,
That's so far so good, but the thing is we want to be updated when a
mhm,
message arrives. That can be server-side events. I heard this technology but never tried it. I think
mhm,
that's actually quite a good match as well. Uh,
mhm,
what else do we have? We of course can keep the connection with a long polling, like yeah, there are plenty of Ajax techniques from the past that I remember. Like you keep the connection and you create a new one when actually server wants have something new to you, and then
mhm,
you create a new connection. I don't remember the name of it, but long polling is like when you do by interval you do calls. Is that something new for me on your on the server side?
mhm,
Uh, so those are kind of options I see.
mhm,
WebSockets is a, yeah, server side event sounds good actually. I
mhm,
don't have, but I don't. It should be a relatively simple API. So, but
mhm.
also WebSockets is kind of good for that. So
Yeah,
for me.
mhm.
So
Uh,
maybe just to finish a thought, actually the first one I had is a maybe we can get the latest messages, last messages by just a REST API, and then to do the interactive conversation to use WebSockets. But I don't like in here that it will combine two ways. I would prefer just one WebSockets way.
mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah, let's go with WebSockets. It's a
Okay.
good idea.
All right. Then WebSockets it, on message, we will receive a new message from server, and uh, and actually we'll receive all the messages, a bunch of messages, a list of messages on load, and a new message from server, from and to a server. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, the URL here will be just yeah, I don't know, messages, our API our API messages. So we do we create a connection, and when we just create this connection, we will get all the messages that we received in the past. Then when we need to send a new message, we will create it from when the text is there in the message input, either text or audio or video. Yeah, audio and video is it's actually harder than that, but
Mhm.
okay.
One question also here, should we also think something about like pagination? Because like I believe we would not necessarily want to load all the messages at once or all the time
Yeah,
when we select something.
yeah, that's very legal, very valid question. So all list messages on load, indeed, it would be if it's a very long chat in time, it will be, yeah, can be thousands of messages. We don't want to load them all. It will be also
Right.
bad experience for a user.
Mhm,
So yeah, latest n up
mhm,
to, I don't know, 50, 100, maybe not more
mhm,
than that. Uh, yeah, and yeah, exactly. And then when you scroll up, it should be lazy loading list. That's
mhm,
very nice. Yeah, very cool. And lazy loading list. Yeah, it should be somewhere in the component itself. So uh, let's put it in here. Latest messages, lazy load, lazy loading list when scrolling to the top. Nice. Okay. A list of messages to unload. Okay, and then indeed the question is, how do we request previous messages? And I think it should be indicated in this request somehow. I don't remember, to be honest, in WebSockets, like when we can send just a object, right, like a JSON data, and then it can be parsed on the server side. Okay, so that's then we can do that. So like we can do something like that. So what we request when we just load a message, it will be I don't know, a type. No, not a type, but I'm a bit scattered with all the thoughts here. So when we what should we specify here? Load through. No, like a last messages. So it should have some kind of I know, actually. I know what we should do. We have a last message date here in the chat, and we can say that I want to load I want to load a number of messages from this from last message date. And that's what we do.
Right.
That's gonna be our first call, and then on a lazy loading side, we're gonna be doing. We already have our messages, and we're gonna be actually last. Also name it the same, but I will split it into the words last message date.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we can do it like that. Chat last message date, and then this is gonna be last message date. Yeah, I think that something like that. Okay, and it will return a number of messages. That's nice. And by the way, when we get a response from a server, it also can be a one, right? I mean, it depends on our protocol with the server. How do we define it on over the WebSockets layer? Yeah, it doesn't matter too much. It's a low level, but yeah, just to mention that it can differ. So a new message to a server, yeah, that's gonna be basically what we specified in a message. Without when we create it, we don't have a ID yet. So when we send it, it's gonna be yeah. Let's put a post, but it's a WebSockets post, so new message. So it will contain type, content, a date, no date. I think date should be attached on the server, and the read date will be null. So I think it's just a type and content, and when it's back, it will be the whole message to us, like ID, type, content, date, and read date. So yeah, that kind of covers it, I think.
Yeah, that should be working. Yeah.
Nice, I like it. Yeah, so that's about API. Actually, next is designing one of the components more in depth. Do you have a preference? And we don't have that much time left, but just to cover something.
Well, let's go to the message input. So because like we wanted to also discuss types, how they should be like incorporated there. And also like here we can pay attention to like visual, how we're going to use CSS here, what's techniques, how we are going to optimize it for production. So those type of things.
Okay, that's already super frightening. Yeah, let's get back here. So we have a number of icons, number of components that can change the type of a message. 1 second. Yeah. Where should we start? I think we should start with the input itself, right? Like this is message input component. This is gonna be in the come on top on left, and I will make it a bit smaller. Okay, so first of all, the most important is input. Let's start with the text input, so it's easiest to think of. So this is gonna be our text input, and I saw a number of icons that can help us with changing buttons or icons that changing the type of a message.
Right.
So how do I put it in here? Stars. Okay, yeah, let's leave it like that, and we gonna have well, usually if we start with the text, the simplest one, when you type something, and then it is expected from the component that when you click an enter, it will do the call to a backend already, and we know what kind of data it should send. So with the text, it sounds not bad. We also might want to have a button to still click it with a mouse, because sometimes a user wants to use this visual component instead of enter.
Right.
Yeah, what other things we can say about text input on the CSS level, and also not quite sure what should we add here.
How do you want like apply styles to the component? Will you be using some like special techniques? Like how would you allow other people from other teams to maybe contribute if they want to add a new type of the message, let's say?
Very interesting. So we said that yeah, for maintainability, it's gonna be working for a long time. I honestly, on this level of on discussion, I'm not sure. I mean, I would use some yeah, like a material design library, like yeah, just a library of components that can help us. But I mean, if it's our company is doing the whole application, then I'm not sure if it's gonna be us doing this library of component, or we just reuse the other ones. I would prefer reuse one for now. I think we design in the application, so we use something like material design application. And yeah, you said what exactly can be reused on a CSS level. I don't know, help me, Pavlik. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe like yeah, that's I think the best option that you suggested is like to just have a components library somehow and use components from this library. Or also, like we can just follow the idea of this components library, how styles should be organized, whether it's like functional CSS styles, or they use like PEM techniques, or they use CSS modules, or something else to like scope CSS and do not affect components of others. So, and then yeah, like we will just follow this, and that would be like enough for us. And if the components library does not propose any like solution for isolation, then what would you choose?
Yeah, like a CSS in JS, that kind of question you mean?
Yeah, for example, that's one of the options indeed.
Yeah. Well, I think in our specific case, we don't have to worry too much about like how we gonna be reusing this component over other applications. So we can be very very eager in how we organize code here. I would prefer CSS and JS in this case. Like we don't have to share a lot across the applications. Probably we didn't specify it in requirements at least. So I would just yeah, CSS and JS would put it in there. Okay.
Yeah, good option. I think we are closing to the end of this.
Uh-huh.
What would be your closing remarks? Maybe something you want to add about like this whole.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, let's zoom it out a bit. Yeah, so so far this is how we looked at that. Yeah, I think what we want to discuss more, we didn't cover the message types like audio and video. To be honest, it's a difficult topic right now. I will think of it a bit later, but definitely we can spend some time on there. Next point, what we could discuss, and actually that doesn't take too much time, is all kind of optimizations that we can use, like how we can organize a cache in our application, like what was gonna be a structure of it, just quickly, but that would help, I think. Um, Maybe a bit of how we gonna make a front end build for our system, like in what chunks, maybe, or does it need to be a chunk, or does it is gonna be a complete build. Lazy loads, we actually discussed one of the optimizations, so that's nice. Um, yeah, preloading, prefetching data ahead of time. Yeah, could be, but not in our case. But we can think of that.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
and the last point that we could discuss, in my opinion, it was like about technologies. What could we choose to implement that? Like just what kind of technology would help us? Like, do we want to use micro frontends, for example, or do we want to that, or it's not necessary in this case? Uh, yeah, uh, yeah. That's what do you think we have missed in this part? Maybe something else we want to discuss.
Yeah, of course, it's like very kind of difficult to judge because like it's only an hour, and of course that's not enough time for you to cover everything. So we can say that's like something always will be missing in those type of things. So what for example, what I would like to learn more, maybe in a different time, maybe some like in general, it's more also like a state management. So how like the things would be going back and forth through the different components, how would they need to communicate with each other? So do we keep, for example, state in the for the message of this type inside the message component? Do we send an API calls from the message component, or we just dispatch this information like higher, and then chat sends the API requests? So this thing, maybe some security concerns. So do we want to share like how the authentication of user should work? Should like is it like, probably it's already like predefined solution if we're in some like company or organization. Maybe it's like access token. What other options? Maybe it's session. What's like here would be for us. So yeah, you also like mentioned this cache. It's really nice to briefly talk about this. And it's like indeed like about technology. It's also really nice how like the micro fronts that would be interesting indeed. Uh, maybe just like briefly, or maybe not briefly, touch the accessibility. So how we're ensure that this application, our service, can be used by other people, all
Mm-hmm.
like people with special needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think in general it's like it covers a lot. You like you go like in depth for some components. That's really nice. You discuss like a data model, the API request, the architecture of components on a higher level, how like they're to be organized. That's like history and search, chat,
Mm-hmm.
etc.,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So those all points covered, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really nice. I think.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot for this. um, yeah, I will try to share a link to the board to our followers if that helps somehow. But other than that, thanks a lot for watching then, and yeah, good luck with 2023. Looking
Thank you
forward.
very much. Yes, to you too. Like, wish you best and prosperous 223. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
And
see you in the next talks, I guess.
yeah, see you.